A dangerous war on cash has started, and it is threatening to eliminate all paper dollars forever. According to the economist James Rickards, plans that once seemed too absurd to be true and might have been dismissed as baseless speculation or conspiracy theories are now being publicly enforced by people who occupy the highest levels of power. The ongoing development of central bank digital currencies is going to be the next blow on our personal freedom, as governments will start to collect people's private information to impose punitive measures, negative rates, deduct taxes automatically, and increase surveillance on all of our banking transactions. The United States is now facing a critical moment as rising inflation is putting the dollar's leading position as the world's reserve currency at risk, and that, according to the expert, is going to be the perfect cue for our leaders to justify implementing digital dollars and abandoning paper money. But the consequences of this change will be obscure and will be many. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. So stay with us, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share this video, and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with our latest notifications. The mainstream media keeps flooding us with news that push our focus away from our real problems. And with so many things going on right now all around the nation, it's easy to forget that an alarming war on cash has begun. However, this is a situation we should all be paying attention to, as it will have major implications not only for our money, but also for our privacy and personal freedom. Economist, investment banker, and financial writer James Rickards recently published an article on the Daily Reckoning, warning that the global financial system is experiencing a structural reform that will change money as we know it forever. The Great Reset, as most specialists call it, and as we mentioned in several of our previous videos, is finally here, and it is rapidly and silently developing on the dark backstage of central banks all around the world. The expert explains that the current global financial system still operates under the resolutions of the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. Since that period, a first reset has occurred, which involved the creation of special drawing rights, the devaluation of the dollar, and the end of the gold standard. But for years and years, experts have been waiting for the next global monetary realignment, which is referred to as the Big Reset, or the Great Reset, and now they've seemed to have found the perfect opportunity to put their plan in motion. The health crisis has undoubtedly ravaged economies all over the planet, but it also allowed governments, particularly the U.S. government, to engage in massive spending, expanding our money supply by the trillions. That, however, is putting our position as the world's reserve currency at risk, as rising inflation is threatening to sharply collapse the value of our currency. At the moment, the U.S. dollar is overly leveraged and becoming increasingly less competitive compared to resource-rich emerging economies. And the more our deficits grow and our purchasing power declines, the less people will trust in our currency. Or as Rickards lays it, if there is no trust, then you don't have money. What you have instead is a collection of portraits of long-dead presidents. Knowing that the narrative of a decaying dollar scares most Americans, the central bank has been quietly working on the perfect solution. So when things go downhill and the imminence of severe financial losses sparks panic and chaos across broad swathes of the U.S. population, the federal government and policymakers will arise with a life-changing proposal: digital money. Arguing that in order to reverse runaway inflation and major wealth losses, the only logical move would be to completely abandon paper dollars and fully embrace an entirely digital currency. World leaders who, by the way, unleashed inflation through the staggering monetary response to the health crisis will come up with what will look like a helpful and progressive plan to get us out from the mess they created themselves. The truth is that the total elimination of cash has been the global elite's pet project for decades, and now they've finally found the ultimate chance to get started. For the wealthy 1%, digital currencies make the dream of infinite money come true. But for the average person, it means that central banks will have access to all of our private banking transactions. And more concerningly, it gives authorities a free pass to directly impose negative interest rates in our banking accounts. What really prevents central banks from imposing them right now is paper money. If banks started doing that, people would promptly take their money away from the banking system. In other words, you cannot put negative interest rates on consumers until you eliminate cash. Otherwise, savers would just withdraw cash from the banks and stuff it in their mattresses to avoid the negative rates. If they stuff their cash in a mattress, they don't earn anything on it, that's true, but at least they're not losing anything on it, The Economist outlined. In his article, Rickards argues that the European Central Bank implicitly seems to agree with this logic. One of its members revealed that negative rates, which is essentially a fancy term for confiscation, will be applied as a penalty against hoarding cash. Simply put, this means that they will create digital money, force you to spend it, and if you don't, they will take it away as a negative rate. That's why the expert has warned, once all money is digital, you won't have the option of withdrawing your cash and avoiding negative rates. You will be trapped in a digital pen with no way out. Don't think for a second that governments will resort to already developed cryptocurrencies to put that plan into place. Oh no, they're not willing to lose their monopoly on money creation to Bitcoin or any other young crypto that has emerged over the past few decades. Central governments do not want to kill the distributed ledger technology behind cryptos either. But they've been quietly watching the technology develop and grow to ultimately control it. Because, as he noted, anyone who controls the money controls political power, the economy, and people's lives. The Economist predicts that over the next several years, we will see the issuance of special drawing rights to transnational organizations such as the UN and World Bank to be spent on climate change infrastructure and other elite pet projects outside the supervision of any democratically elected bodies, or, as he calls it, the new blueprint for worldwide inflation. Then, after major world economies get exhausted by inflation, central banks will enter the picture launching central bank digital currencies known as CBDC. In essence, CBDCs use the same underlying distributed ledger technology that cryptocurrencies use, despite presenting some differences that are often ignored by the crypto crowd. CBDCs aren't entirely new currencies. They'll take the place of paper dollars, euros, yen, yuan, whatever existing currency of any given country. The main focus is to ban cash of any kind. The format, though, will be changed. All the operations will work without the use of traditional banks. The biggest perk of CBDCs is their convenience and lack of credit card transaction fees. Payments can be done with any electronic device in which you're able to download the app. No more need for credit cards or costly wire transfers. Essentially, no one will need bank accounts, checks, account statements, deposit slips, and the other bureaucratic banking services having a perfectly functional Fed digital account. It's been years that the Federal Reserve has started to work with scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology to create a dollar form of CBDC. Not very long ago, Chairman Jerome Powell told Congress that the Fed is indeed looking carefully at issuing a digital dollar, calling it a high priority project for us. Although the rollout of the new digital dollar is being kept a secret, the consequences of its imminent issuance are already raising many eyebrows in the financial sector, considering that banks and other financial institutions are the very foundations of today's stock market, determining valuations alongside the tech sector. CBDCs may represent the end of traditional banks. Already, major banks are fearing that they will be completely excluded from the payment system. MasterCard and Visa are also alarmed that their payment channels will become useless. Even more worryingly,